more and more people are getting to the conclusion that they need some little bit of hardware to run their own AI. This is because what is happening in the industry and why those corporations are doing what they're doing. So at the moment, if you have a business and you need to plan, okay, create a business plan around the use of AI, it's through those corporations becoming possible because the price change all the time. You can't trust they will provide you the exact same model that you require. And the fact that they come up with this idea of this AI is so powerful, you shouldn't use it. So we give you this less powerful version. But because it's still really powerful, we need to look at all your data. We need to have your data saved for 1 month so we can understand exactly what you're doing and be sure that you're not criminal. Okay, that is the way that they see us. Okay, they have the excuse of being so powerful, so dangerous that they must look at your data 100% for a month. Okay, retain your data for a month. That is the madness they are asking us to, to follow. That is unacceptable. So, what is the strategy? A local AI. Let me explain, because this is create a kind of a really complex scenario where the idea of the right AI hardware it's a false question is because it doesn't exist. Each one of us require a different kind of hardware. And in today's video, I want to cover why this is the case and how you need to approach this problem. But before we start, like and subscribe, I want to tell you one more thing that today at 8 p.m. Central European Summer Time, we are going to have a call inside the community. So join, link in the description, join Discord. You can join us on our call where we will discuss what hardware you should buy. Okay, and so watch this video, and then we can have a proper deep dive discussion with experts and so on what the right approach, what kind of hardware you could get for resolving your problem. And then one more thing, this we're gonna have weekly calls about hardware and local models. Now, there is this trilemma, okay? The memory size, the memory speed, and the cost of it. Okay, to which you can always choose two of those. Okay, because it's impossible to have all of them. And as soon as you're trying to achieve, I want a lot of memory and a lot of speed, then the price goes up. And today or recently, it's been announced this new PC from Asus that costs $99,999. Okay, this is an AI super powerful machine with NVIDIA CB 300 inside, 700 plus gigabyte of RAM, and so on. It's a beast, but that is the price. And when you look at the spec, you feel like, yes, but it's not perfect, is it? Okay, that is the reality we are living in. So choosing hardware become really complex, and there are a few elements that we need to understand. So why memory is so important? By memory, we are talking about the RAM of those machines. So there are two kinds of RAM: the unified memory, like the one that is present inside the Apple computer, like M5 and so on, and the inside those Asus or Spark equivalent machine, they have unified memory. And then there is memory connected to the video card. Okay, that is the kind of memory that we are talking about. Why memory is important? Because those local models need to be loaded entirely inside the memory. You can do even half and half, but then you're gonna lose so much speed that is gonna be upsetting. Okay, so you need to load everything inside this. Inside the RAM, and those models can be really huge. Okay, so according to the model that you want to run, you need to have the correct amount of memory. But there is another thing that loading the model is not everything. Okay, so the LLM, the agent that you want to use, need to have a memory system. Okay, a working memory. This is the working memory is where they put the data that you're working on inside. So if you see when you chat, for example, with ChatGTP, whatever you write in that chat, that is the working memory. Okay, the answer, your questions and answer, that is the working memory. So more data you give inside the working memory, and more intelligent the model becomes because it has more data to consider. This is also for coding. Bigger code, you give it to the AI, AI can look at it at once and have a better understanding of what works, what to change, and so on. So that is the idea. Can be optimized all the process and so on, but that is why we need a lot of memory because of the model and the context window that this model need to have. Plus, if we want to run simultaneously more instances of the same model, so we need more context window for the same model. That is another thing. So that requires more memory. Now, there is the memory speed. Why speed is so important? Because working with AI, it's something that we do as a human. Okay, we as a human, we have a speed to which we read. Okay, which we think. So if the AI is too slow, what we have frustration. Then we get distracted and we start working on something else. That distraction create a problem because okay, now I'm thinking something else. Go back, I lost the, my thinking and so on. Some people, what they do, they work simultaneously on more than one instance. So if you have your memory that is not fast enough, or you're working on something that's so huge, that what you do, you work on more than one instance at a time. And therefore, while you're waiting for something, you are working on something else. Okay, that is another strategy. But nevertheless, it means they require more memory. So the two things keep going together. But this is not even enough to make your decision because there's other elements that force you to think this deeply. Because one of the elements is those machines require electricity. Some of those machines, like again the Mac Mini, just to give an example, it's extremely cheap. Okay, it doesn't. It feels like it's free. Okay, it doesn't use electricity basically. It's just amazing how little electricity required. Some professional card they actually run with 300, 600 watt. Okay, so which is insane. And if you run them 24/7 and they keep working all the time, you will feel the cost of those machines. So again, it's something that you need to consider, especially or is in your country where you are electricity expensive or not? Do you have maybe solar power? And those solar panels will cover the kind of demand or not. So there is a lot to think about that part. And do you have any other work 24/7 or not? Do you need or not? So that is an individual element. Then there is also the purchasing power that you have. So depending where you are in the world, you have different purchasing power. Even though, again, this Mac Mini might cost $500 everywhere in the world, there is other elements to consider. There is tax on top of it, but also the fact that for some people, saving $500, it's just wait at the end of the month, they get paid, boom, and they have it. Some other people maybe need a few months of saving before spending $500. Some other might need a year or more of saving before they can buy a hardware like this one. That is the thing. So when you ask someone which hardware shall I buy, it's connected to all these problems. Okay, it's cheap for that person or not. Is it cheap for you or not? Because maybe $10,000 for a hardware is not that cheap, but that person is just unaffordable. So they will never suggest to buy that one. But for you, it's maybe nothing. So you say, okay, I'm gonna buy it. That is the best machine because it's the cost for you has a different meaning. So another element to consider is the second hand. So for some people, make much more sense to buy second hand. For others, it doesn't make any sense because there is, for example, you can't pay installment most of the time. You can save on taxes because you have your company or you're a freelancer and so on. Therefore, buying second hands on things that are not losing price at all might be more expensive than buying new. And then there is another element. This is more like a sort of personal, okay? In the sense, some people are used to some specific operation system and they don't want to move. There's this friction of going into different operation system that sometimes it feels scary. and it is okay. So if you're used to macOS, for example, you will never want to move on Windows because of some challenges, and vice versa. So I'm gonna tell about myself. Okay, I show here that I have this Mac Mini. I have a laptop also that is a MacBook Air and so on. And I don't like this company. Okay, I just want to make it clear. I don't like Apple Computer, but for what I work in the way that I work is the best solution. I don't like Windows either, and it's a nightmare for me to use it. So I prefer to use Apple. What I would like to use instead is Linux. Okay, Linux is something that run on this machine. This is run a custom version of Ubuntu, and uh, and it's incredible because it's open source. Okay, so I like that direction. I like that kind of way of working. But at the same time, I'm not that confident with Linux. And most importantly, some of my software, the software that I need, okay, some professional software that I spend a lot of money for it, okay, for making music, they cannot run on Linux, unfortunately. So I'm kind of locked into Windows or Mac OS. That is where I am. But for AI, instead, where I have the freedom, I like this. Okay, I like the idea of having Linux and a dedicated machine for it and so on. So you see, the problem is so complex that it's not easy to ask someone which hardware shall I buy. Why I'm telling you this? Because I'm writing a connected to this video. There is a blog post where I go more in details about what we have been explaining, but also I prepare a prompt for you to give to your AI so you can ask AI on what kind of AI, what kind of local model you should run, what kind of hardware you should buy. And this is extremely important because there is so many elements to consider that you need to start thinking what kind of person you are, what kind of problem you're trying to solve. Now, regarding what kind of person you are, let's see this kind of a profile. Okay, the solo coder, the team server, the generalist, and the nomad. Okay, by nomad I mean these people that needs to have a laptop. Okay, because they travel a lot, they don't have maybe whatever they need to bring their computer to the office or whatever it is. Okay, so for those people, a laptop is a must. So, and if it's a laptop, then therefore you just cut the amount of option you have, and you deal with the reality of um here behind the photo there is the fact that the laptop have this problem of not being designed to work 24/7. They can do it, but they're not designed for this. Okay, so you have that challenge, and plus they cost much more than a normal hardware. So, but if that is the only option you have, even though for a lot of people sounds like, yeah, this is wrong. I mean, this is a waste of money. You can do much more if you buy a custom PC, for example. Yes, but there's not that option. Okay, I need to carry it with me. So the only option is a laptop. So that is the nomad. Then there is the solo coder. Why solo coder is also important to look at, because when you have a really specific problem to solve, then you can optimize for it. So, for example, there is this Quen 3.6 27 billion model. Extremely good for coding. Okay, it's small enough that can run on a lot of different kind of hardware. Now, the question here is two things. Okay, so you know the model that you need. You know what kind of a context window you need to have for your kind of work, and then you say, okay, what hardware can offer me this at which price? So the speed, for example, if you want for high speed, you go for an RTX 5090, okay, from Nvidia. Those have an insane speed, okay, incredible speed, 4 5 times the speed of those kind of hardware. Okay, so incredible fast. They can run that model probably around 70 or more. I actually I don't know exactly, but I guess around 70 token per second, which is comfortable for us to work with. And so for these people, the direction is simple. I go for an RTX 9050 or a cheaper one if I am happy with the slower version and saving money. But also think about that, then they can upgrade because they have now hardware, they can change the card, replace with a new one, sell the old one. So there is an environment that is much more flexible. For them, that kind of direction is the best direction. Okay, for the nomad, a laptop is the best direction. For people that have a company to run, okay, have a team of people that needs to have AI, each one of them need to have an AI. Having a series of computer dedicated machine for each one of them, it's a madness because it's going to be so expensive. So you can't do like a solo coder time 10 because it will be just too expensive. You better invest in a different kind of hardware, and therefore you need to think in those terms. Okay, that is a different problem to solve. It's better to resolve in a different way. Then there is the generalist. Okay, something like me, someone that use AI for a lot of different reason. From I don't know, from making images to make to have an AI for my agent to run my agent, my Hermes, and maybe I want to experiment with music. I want to experiment with video. I want to learn about this new model. For example, Gemma for what's the name? 12 billion. The new one that does actually it's not 12 billion. The newer one is the fusion one has use a complete different kind of technology and require I think around 50 gigabyte of RAM. So if you are a coder, then you have this 32 gigabyte of RAM, then you're stuck. You can't test this kind of model. But if you have an hardware like this one, that is true that is lower, but at the same time has 128 gigabyte of RAM, therefore I can test that. Okay, I can experiment with it. So that is the thing. Okay, it's a completely different kind of approach. There are different machines for different solution. There is a reason why this machine is selling a lot. There is a reason why Mac Studio is selling a lot. There is a reason why the DGX, sorry, the RTX 1950 is selling a lot, and all those video cards are selling a lot. Okay, there is a reason because there are a lot of different people with a lot of different problems to solve. So look at the problem you want to solve, not the hardware that sounds amazing. Now there is another thing that I want to talk about, because for most of us the approach that we need to look at is an hybrid one. So for example, a lot of people are moving into local model, local AI, because of privacy. Okay, because they don't want to share their data with those corporations. There is a way, a sort of hack that you can do is to take your private data, password, contracts, and whatever, your clients' names, whatever it is. Okay, so you make them, anonymize them through a smaller model. So you have a local model that is smaller that change the name, change some information according to whatever needs you have. Therefore, now the data is anonymous and can be shared safely and legally with a cloud model. So have always in mind that in most scenario, you have not the rights to share your private data. In some countries, it's completely illegal. So you need to have the data saved within your system. It cannot be shared with anybody. In this way, you can, because you make the data anonymized. So that is a hack. But when you start to think about this, is okay, but therefore maybe my solution is not 100% local, or the opposite, 100% online. The best solution is actually this hybrid one. And I do hybrid. Okay, I have different subscription. One because I love to learn and use, and I like to use different tools and so on. And by doing so, I require different kind of subscription also for share with you what I learn, and different models and so on, compare them and so on. So this is how it work. Okay, but for me there is also not cloud computer doesn't mean Anthropic or OpenAI or Gemini. Okay, even though I have Gemini and OpenAI subscription, but I also have a Minimax, which is an open source, yeah, it's open source model that it could run on some specific local hardware, but my hardware is not big enough, it's not powerful enough, therefore I use it on the cloud. That allows me to have so much variety, so much different options, which it's much cheaper than buying hardware. So that is the challenge. Okay, it's so many elements that play at once. That is It's not easy to get out and say this is the model for you, this is the hardware for you. So asking what hardware should I buy is the wrong question. But you should ask yourself, what problem am I trying to solve? So in the Substack, I have this article. Like I said, there is going to be a massive prompt that you can give to your AI, and this AI is going to help you by asking you a question of what kind of problem you want to solve. So what kind of AI you can use. Now, in today's call, we are going to talk about this. So if your question is what hardware should I buy, today we are going to meet and discuss about this. But first, you need to understand what kind of problem you are trying to solve. Then we can talk together. So I want to recap by say, so the decision is not simple. Okay, so your budget is extremely important. Okay, what kind of the way that you use AI is extremely important. If you are building a business, you're learning, if you're a student, you're doing research, whatever it is, you need to take all of these in consideration. So don't ask someone else what kind of hardware you should buy. Okay, but understand the problem you need to solve. Thanks for watching this video. I find this topic extremely important. There is a lot of people that needs to be uh, aware about the importance of running local AI, about the challenge of this. So again, we have a call every week about this. Let's learn from each other. And one thing, I don't know if at the beginning of the video I said, but the idea here is that we are building a community. The community is not just about hardware, it's about AI, it's not about this. Okay, this is a community that is aligned with the philosophy of augmentatism. You can find it on augmentatism.com, link in the description. The idea is to use AI to augment us, okay, not replacing us. So we're building something that is in the exact opposite of what those corporations are doing. Then how does it work? That when you join the community, you become co-owner of the community and the software that we are building. Okay, so we are not extracting from you. Okay, we are giving back to the community. You co-own this connected to the amount of contribution that you do. And we aligned us through the philosophy that we share. The philosophy is the idea of anti-capture. Okay, it's not is allowing everybody to travel this experience with freedom. Okay, so it's not about telling everybody what to do, but it's educating each other from the different aspect, different perspective, and expand and learn and build together. This is not a community just for people that use AI. Okay, this is not the goal. But at the moment, we are building it, and we are building it with AI. So we are leveraging this technology. So most of us are people that use AI for in this way. And the community is a community of communities, so different people can join, different groups can join and participate in creating something that is going to be better for the all of us. Thanks for staying to the end. Again, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, I'm almost at 10,000 subscribers, so let's get there, and watch the next video. Ciao.